Hi Year 2, welcome to Wednesday's writing lesson. Now before we carry on with our super duper explorer writing and conjunctions that we've been doing the past couple of days, we just wanted to take a moment to look at some of the work you sent through last week with Miss Hammond's challenge. Now remember, Miss Hammond challenged you to write a poem about things that you would find in an explorer's bag or an explorer's pocket. We were blown away by some of the work that we received, so let's take a look at it now. Well done to those of you that saw your work flash up on the screen, and well done to all of you that have completed the work. Great job. Right, let's start today's lesson. Our learning objective is to use the conjunction if. We're going to carry on with our writing that we started on Monday about one of these famous explorers. If you've missed the past two writing sessions, don't worry, you can still join in today, but you do need to choose one of these explorers and do a little bit of research on them. Everyone else, make sure you've got your writing from Monday and yesterday in front of you, and let's go. Remember, in our writing this week, we're focusing on using conjunctions. We've spoken about these a lot the past couple of days, but Tom must be feeling very forgetful because he's thinking, remind me again, what's a conjunction? Can you help him, Year 2? Well done. So as we know, conjunctions join together two different parts of a sentence. For example, words like because, and, but, when, and if. We've already focused on the others this week, so today we're going to look at if. Now I've left this one till last because if is probably the trickiest of these conjunctions to use, and it's quite tricky to explain as well. But luckily, it's something that we use all the time naturally when we speak. So we use if in several ways. We can use if to talk about things we're not sure are going to happen. For example, I will put on a coat if the weather turns cold. I don't know for sure that that's going to happen because I don't know for sure if the weather will be cold. It might be quite warm and I might not need a coat. But what I do know is if it's cold, then I will put on my coat. Now, you knew I was going to use the pizza example like I have all of this week. But again, this is an example of using if about something that we're not sure is going to happen. I will cook pizza later if I have time. I don't know for sure that I will cook pizza because I don't know yet whether I will have time or not. But if I have the time, I will cook pizza. Now let's look at another way we can use if. We can also use it to talk about things in the past that we know didn't happen. And this is the way that we're likely to fit in if in our work about explorers because we're talking about events in the past. So, for example, the explorer could have reached the North Pole if she had packed a compass. Now, we know, because it's in the past, that she didn't reach the North Pole and she didn't pack a compass with her. But if she had, maybe she would have reached it. Here's another example using the explorer I'm going to be writing about today. Shackleton would have beaten Amundsen to the South Pole if he had got there before 1911. Now, it's in the past. We know that Shackleton didn't beat Amundsen to the South Pole because he didn't get there before 1911. In today's writing session, we're going to be writing the next paragraph of our non-fiction writing, and this is going to be about what happened on their expedition. As you can see in my book, I ran out of space, so I've had to go on to the next page to write my next heading. As we're writing about the expedition and what happened on it today, I'm going to put a new subheading and I'm going to write what happened. So at the end of the lesson, when you do your writing, I'd like you to use that subheading as well. Before you start your writing, I want you to watch the whole lesson and help me out with mine. Now, as we know, our learning objective is to use the conjunction if, and we will practice that in just a moment. However, I also need to write down quite a bit of information because it's non-fiction writing and quite a lot happened on this expedition that I want to write about. So I don't need you to include if in every sentence because that will be very, very difficult to do with this kind of writing. However, you could challenge yourself to fit in as many other conjunctions that we've practiced so far this week instead. So, my first sentence, I'm starting with the Imperial Trans-Antarctic Expedition began in 1914 when the expedition ship the Endurance left England. So although I haven't included if, I have included when, and I've got lots of information down. Now I've written my next couple of sentences down. Again, I haven't worried about using if, but I have tried to include some other conjunctions. They made it to the South Pole. The Endurance got trapped in ice and finally sank many months later. I've included and, but can you see if I could include another conjunction? How could I make this better? I've got a green for great for using and, but you can see I've got a pink arrow there showing where I could fit in another conjunction to make that into one longer sentence. They made it to the South Pole, but the Endurance got trapped in ice and finally sank many months later. Now, I don't need to change that T in the into a lowercase because it's the name of the ship. Now we've reached a point where I think we could make a really good if sentence using the information from my notes. Let's have a look. Expedition wasn't successful. They didn't avoid ice. Can you have a think? How could we use if as a conjunction to join this information? Well done. So you might have something that looks a little like this. I've used if in the way we practiced earlier as something that I know didn't happen in the past. The expedition could have been successful if they had avoided the ice, but as we know, sadly, they didn't avoid the ice, so the expedition wasn't successful. You could also use if at the start of the sentence in this way. If they had avoided the ice, the expedition could have been successful. It doesn't matter which way round it goes. I'm going to write my sentence down now in my writing. You might decide after you've written a few sentences that you've given enough information about what happened on the expedition, and that's absolutely fine, especially if you've managed to include some conjunctions as well. I'm going to carry on though because I haven't quite finished the story and I think I can include some more conjunctions. Here's what I wrote. Now you might notice I wasn't quite happy with it at first and I've gone back and edited it to make it better. So we're left with Shackleton ordered the crew to abandon the ship and they sailed in small boats to Elephant Island. They ate seals and penguin meat because they needed to survive. So again, I've managed to include a few conjunctions. Now I'm going to finish off the story of what happened in the end on this expedition. Again, I'm going to challenge myself to include if in one of these sentences. So, they were all eventually rescued and none of the crew died during the expedition. Can you help me work out an if sentence that I can use to finish this work off? Let's use the information in my notepad to help us again. So none of the crew died. Shackleton never gave up. How can I link this information using if to make one sentence? Well done. So your sentence might look slightly different, but I've got many people would have died if Shackleton had given up. So I'm going to add that to the rest of my writing. In a moment, you're going to get going with your writing at home, but first let's just look together at my work from this lesson, which I completed with your help. Now, your work doesn't need to be this long. It might just be a few sentences, And you don't have to use all the conjunctions either, but we'll talk about that in a moment when we look at the Chile challenges. Let's read through my work together. Let's go. The Imperial Transantarctic Expedition began in 1914 when the expedition ship, the Endurance, left England. They made it to the South Pole, but the Endurance got trapped in ice and finally sank many months later. The expedition could have been successful if they had avoided the ice. Shackleton ordered the crew to abandon the ship and they sailed in small boats to Elephant Island. They ate seals and penguin meat because they needed to survive. They were all eventually rescued and none of the crew died during the expedition. Many people would have died if Shackleton had given up. Let's look at our Chile challenges then. So we're all doing the same task, which is writing about an expedition that our explorer went on. Remember, you're either writing about Marco Polo, Shackleton, Ellen MacArthur or Roald Amundsen, and you're carrying on from the work that you did yesterday. Chile 1 is to write about the expedition using and because, like we've practiced earlier this week. Chile 2, as it's the main learning objective, is to try and use at least one if in your writing. Chile 3 is to challenge yourself to include all of the conjunctions. Good luck. Brilliant job again, Year 2. So we've now finished our main piece of writing for this week, but tomorrow we're going to look at how we can edit it to make it even better. So I'll see you then. Bye.